In this series of videos, I'm going to be modeling this medieval bucket, which has textures from Substance Painter, that's the metal stuff here, and this wood texture is created in Substance Designer. So this is really an experiment to create a wood texture in Substance Designer and use it in Substance Painter. Alright, so in this video, we're going to do the modeling of the bucket. So here we are in Blender, and I'm going to press Shift-A, Mesh, Circle. I'm going to leave it at the default value, which is going to be 32 vertices. I'm going to look from the front, go into Edit mode by pressing Tab, and I'm going to press E to extrude, and I'm going to pull up a ways, something like that. So just past 2 grid units and S to scale, and do it something like that, so it's tapered. 2 for edge selection, and Shift-Alt and click this edge. It goes all the way around. Shift-D to duplicate it and pull it down. Press P and separate by selection. So we have that piece. We're going to use that in a little bit. Okay, back to this one. Let's give this some thickness by going into Edit mode, selecting it, E and Alt-S, and push. And then give it the thickness that you would want to have for your wood, something like that. Alright, just like that. Now when I do that, I get a little bit of an angle here and on the bottom. So I'm going to look from the front and go into wireframe, press B to box select, select all that, and scale it in the Z so it's flat SZ0. And I'm going to do the same down here for the bottom, SZ0. Back in the solid view, so that's now flat. I'm probably going to cover the top, but in case you didn't want to, you could come in here in edge selection, Shift-Alt and click that one, and that one, Shift-Alt and click that one, and that one. And we can bevel all of these together, just in case you don't cover the top. Control B and pull, get 2, and then roll your mouse up so you have 3 edges in there. And that will be our bucket right there. Okay, now let's make the bottom of it. So select that piece and go into Edit mode, select it all, F to make a face. I'm going to pull that up inside so there's a little bit of a gap. And I want to have some thickness because I want it to be able to show on the bottom and on the top. And if I come into here and I look at face orientation, while the bottom is blue and you can see it, the top isn't. So I'll leave it like that. I'm just going to, with that selected, press E to extrude and just pull up a little ways in the Z. Alright, so now it's flipped. So I'm going to select it all, Alt-N, recalculate outside. So now you could texture the bottom and you could texture the top. Let's go to get out of that. Okay, let's focus on that though. While it's selected, press the slash key and zoom in. We don't need these side faces, so go into Edit mode and 3 for face selection, Shift-Alt to click X faces. So now I just have like 2 pieces there. Slash key to bring everything back, and let's turn on the cavity shader. Alright, I'm going to shade smooth this, select it and shade smooth. And it's time to start making the metal pieces. So like I said, depending on where you want to put your top metal piece, you may not need any of these faces up at the top. Let's think about that for the moment, but I'm going to borrow a circle from here, or an edge going all the way around. So I'm going to Shift-D to duplicate, I'll pull it down just a little bit and scale it out, P to break it out. So we're going to use this to make that top one. So go back into Edit mode, pull it down to where you want it. And I'm going to press E to extrude and come up. I'm going to go over the top of the pail, or the bucket. I'm going to select it like this, and I'm going to press E and Alt-S, and I'm going to push. Whichever way brings it in. Just make sure it clears like that. So something like that. Let me pull back. Yeah, okay, right about to there. So that's my piece there. And because I've got that, I guess I don't need those top ones, so I'm going to hide that for the moment and come in here. And now maybe I will get rid of some of these. So let's Shift-Alt and click those faces, and Control+ to expand the selection 2 times, and then X faces. We'll get rid of those. We don't actually need them. And Alt-H to bring that back, so we'll never know that that's missing. Alright, so let's come in here and let's bevel this now. Let's, in edge selection, Shift-Alt and click that edge and that edge, this edge, and I guess I'll do the inside edge as well. So all 4 of those sharp edges, Control B, pull, and I just want the 3 in there, like that. and I can shade smooth. Worry about shading issues later. I'm going to look from the front, and I'm going to select that edge. Shift S, cursor to select it, so we can put bolts starting right from the front there. So I'm going to bring in a UV sphere, and we'll change this to 12 and 8. Go into edit mode and wireframe, and 1 for vertex selection, and then box select all these bottom vertices here. So I have just that top half. I'm going to start scaling it down, but I'm also going to scale it in the Z a little bit. I'll scale it down, and I'm going to rotate X 90, bring it down, and scale it again until I get something that I like right in the middle. Go back into solid view, and look at that. It's not bad there. Let's shade smooth, and maybe I'll bring it out just a little bit, and that could be there. Alright, I'd like to have them going all the way around, so I'm going to select this and go into edit mode, select the whole thing, Shift S, cursor to select it, and that'll bring the 3D cursor right into the middle. I'm going to select this. I'm going to look down from the top. I'm going to go into edit mode and select it, and I'm going to switch over here my pivot to the 3D cursor. So I'm now Shift D, rotate Z 180. So I have 2. Select A to select them all. Shift D, rotate Z 90. Select them all again by pressing A. Shift D, rotate Z 45. And now I have all of those going all the way around for the top. At this point, I'm going to select both of those before I join them, and I'm going to Shift D to duplicate, and I'm going to pull down near the bottom, down there, and I'm going to press S to scale. But don't forget to go back to median point. S to scale. Actually, I like to do this in edit mode. S to scale. And that's going to change the size of the bolts, but I don't mind that. I think it's going to be okay. Just scale it in as much as you want so that you still have, that band going around like that. And it's okay if it sticks out more on the bottom. If you don't like that, well, we could adjust that. We could work on that. But for the time being, let's take it again. Let me just actually move it up a little bit, because I'm going to do another one right underneath it. So about there, Shift D to duplicate, pull that one down, scale it in like that. I think it's going to look fine the way it is. So we're going to do something like that. And now that that's done, I want to have a look at these ones here. So I'm going to slash key. We don't need some of these interfaces, so go into 3 face selection, Shift Alt and click this one, Shift Alt and click that one, and Control plus, say twice. I can just get rid of those. We'll just leave it like that. Make it easy on ourselves. Let's make sure it doesn't show through. And it doesn't. Let's double check our face orientation. Everything looks good. Okay, so that's like that. We'll have to unwrap this in a bit. Sometimes it would have been easier to do the first one and then unwrap the other ones equally, but let's not worry about that. Let's just do the next part. So I'm going to press 3 to look from the side now. Come into this one again, and once again I'm going to hold on. I'm going to select that edge and Shift S, cursor to select it. So I look from the front, my cursor's right there. Okay, that's fine. I can look from the front or the side, doesn't matter. For this, Shift A, mesh, circle, and I'm going to choose 20 vertices, maybe even 22. So it's not really low poly, but that's okay. Scale it down. I can just G to grab and move. I want to rotate. I'm going to look from the side. I'm going to rotate Y90. I'm going to use this to make a hole, so it's got to be relatively small. We can adjust the size later, so we'll leave it like that for now. And I want to make an arch-like structure here. And the way I'm going to do it is with that circle. I'm going to press E and S and pull out a ways. Then I'm going to select this vertex and then hold Control until I get around to the side. So I have all these bottom vertices selected. Press E to extrude and pull down in the Z direction. SZ0 to straighten those out and pull it right into there. And we'll get the approximate height in a bit. Let's start with that. I'm going to pull it out here and give this a bit of thickness by extruding it out like that. So that's the piece we'll have. But let's get rid of the bottom faces, slash So let's look from the side in wireframe, box select, X faces. So we've gotten rid of the bottom now. It's probably, that pole is probably going to be too big, so I can look from the side and scale it, but not in the X direction. All right, so look from the side and scale Shift X for not in the X. Let's do some beveling. We can do the hole first. You could use a bevel modifier. I'm gonna do it by hand. So grab those and Control B, pull, and I want 3 or 4. I'll go with 3, just like that. Now I want to bevel the outside edge, but this edge is a little bit close. Like so, I mean, if I grab them like this, it's a little close. So what I'm going to do, I think, is I'm going to take these points, look from the side, and I'm going to move them down out of the way, and this point as well. In fact, I can do these first. I'll show you what I'm getting at. I'm going to scale in the Y for these, and now I'm going to move this point here and that point there, just to give myself more room to bevel. So I'm going to take that and I'm going to press G twice for edge slide, and it'll slide along the edge, and it won't change the curvature. G, slide it down. Doesn't exactly matter how much. I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. It's just a small thing that just may help us. So I'm going to select those 2 points, scale in the Y, just bring them in closer to the other ones, away from this edge here. Take that G down a little ways, and this one G down a little ways, like that. It didn't change anything, but now I can come in here and I can select the edge. I have to select a couple of times to get the entire edge, and now I can bevel this. Control B and pull and do something like this, and that's going to be probably just fine. Shade smoothing. I have a bit of a shading issue. I'll deal with that in a bit. Let's bring that back, and yeah, I think that's going to be too high. I'm going to pull it down. Let's mirror that to the other side and see what it looks like. I may actually want to make it a bit bigger based on this bucket. Yeah, actually, I think I'm going to make the whole thing a bit bigger, and I take it back. Just globally scale it and pull it to there. We'll try that. So let's select this again and Shift S cursor to selected, bringing the 3D cursor right to the middle. Select that and set the origin to the 3D cursor. And then we can add a mirror. All right, so mirror in the X, and there it is. Let's just double check this stuff here. See, these are flipped. So go in, Alt N, recalculate those out. Just check frequently. All right, so we're going to put the handle in there. My 3D cursor is right in the middle, so we might as well just do this. And I'm going to use the same circle. I've got, what, 22 vertices? Okay, edit mode, scale it, look from the top. And it's going to have to come out further because we're going to have the front part here, and then it's going to come in. And you see there's a vertex right there and right there. I'm going to take the whole thing until that vertex is pretty much in front of the hole. And then I'm going to get rid of all this. So select that one and press Control and X vertices. So I have that left. And hopefully that's going to work all right. So I'm going to take that one and press E to extrude SX, and I'm going to pull and make them go in and just sort of stick through like about that much. Now I'm going to select this vertex and this one. Let's round them. Shift Control B, not just Control B, Shift Control B, pull with the 3 and do something like that. All right, so let's convert this to a curve. So right click, convert to curve, and in the curve dialog box under geometry and bevel, just hold Shift and start pulling to the right until you get a thickness that you think looks good. And we'll have to position this. So I'm going to look from the side and just G to pull it and bring that down in size and just position it. And for now, I'm going to press Control 2 for 2 subdivisions and shade smooths to get a look at this thing. And what I can do is come into the curve, select that vertex and that one, the end ones, bring the 3D cursor there, Shift S, cursor to selected, so it's right in the middle of that handle, I guess. Switch to 3D cursor and look from the side. So my pivot's right in the middle of that, go into edit mode, and just press R to rotate and see what it's like, how far down it goes, and does it look right, does it need to be extended. So I'm going to come back, and I think that's a little bit small, so I'm going to SY with my 3D cursor right there and pull it out. It'll deform it a little bit, but that's okay. And I think that's probably better. Let's look from the side and rotate it down so it'll fall around the middle of the pail a little bit further. You can rotate it out. Just don't let go. Just let go there so you can easily Control Z. Okay, let's have a look at that. We'll go back into solid view. And that's what it would look like. Okay, I'm going to leave it there. No, I'm going to rotate it down anyhow. All right, let's rotate it down. That's going to be its final position. I think that probably is going to look all right, something like that. All right, so we are going to convert this from a curve to a mesh. I'm going to come up here, change the resolution to 3, right-click, and convert to mesh. And when I do that, it'll just chuck the subdivision. So I'll come back and I'm just going to do a Control-1 on it anyhow. And then let's fill these holes. So go into Edit Mode and 2 for edge selection, and F to make a face. We'll leave that there for the moment. Come over to the other side, select it, F to make a face. I'm going to go back to medium point so I don't forget. And then I'm going to Control B to bevel and pull. And I just want to have the 3. So that's now closed. And I will probably, I probably should do that after I do apply the subdivision, but I'm going to apply because it tends to do a funny kind of pattern. I don't really like it, so I'm actually going to come back, select there, X vertices, and then select that edge and F to make a face and rebuild it. And while I'm here, I'm going to mark that as a seam, like that. I'm going to do the same on the other side, so we'll come back over here. I don't like this pattern, so I'm going to select that vertex, Control plus, X vertices, select F to make a face, and 2 for edge selection, and then Control E, mark seam. And we might as well do the other stuff I'm going to do while we're here. I'm going to put a seam down, right down in the middle or so. If I'm off the middle line a little bit, that doesn't matter. Okay, if I want to be a bit more exact, I'll choose that one, Control E, mark seam. But when I unwrap this, I'll go to UV editing. If I just go U, unwrap, I'm going to get a really thin, long piece. And so the way I'm actually going to prefer to do this is looking from the front. I'm going to, in edge selection, Shift Alt and click this edge here. It shouldn't matter if I put a seam there when I do the texture. So I've got that selected, Control E, mark seam, and then when I select it all, U, unwrap, I'll at least get 2 thicker pieces so that texture is a little bit better. All right, so let's come back here. Let's double check everybody is good. And that's pretty much the model itself, isn't it? So why don't we go ahead and unwrap this and be ready for the next thing. So I unwrap that, and by the way, we'll do materials too. So that's going to be metal, so I'm going to come in here and I'm going to call this metal. And we'll use this in Substance Painter as well. And this is going to be metal, so let's go ahead and do the metal pieces. That's going to be metal. Those pieces are going to be metal. And I could join them. It's easier if I don't. So that's metal, that. This is going to be a wood. This is going to be wood sides or side, whatever. And down here, this is going to be wood bottom. I'll just do like that. So we've got our materials on there. And now let's look at the UV editing window, and let's unwrap. Let's do this piece of wood here. I'm going to slash to focus just on that. And I'm going to come in here and I'm going to press Control-1 to look from the back. All right, so this is the back, and I'm going to press 2 for edge selection, Shift-Alt and click that edge, which will go down there and all the way around. And I'm going to Control-E, mark seam. Now let's have a look at the unwrap that this generates. All right, that's not bad. What we want is the faces, this face and this face need to be the same length for when we do the texture, so that the panels or the planks are equal on the front and going into the back. Otherwise, you're going to have the middle line in the panel not quite matching up. I don't know if I explained that very well. This doesn't look too bad because what I can do here, in fact, let me see if I prefer having one more. I'm just going to try it here. Control E. I'm on the bottom here. I turned it over on the bottom inside. I'm going to select that. Unwrap. Nah, not much better. Let's get rid of that. And let's have a look at this now. See what we can do. So there is software that you can use to straighten out UVs, but I'm just going to do this in Blender. I'm going to select, I'm looking for a rectangle that's relatively straight, so I'm going to select that edge and that edge, and I'm going to SY0, this edge and this edge, SY0, and then I'm going to do the sides independently. So I'm going to select that edge and SX0, and then this one, SX0. And you know what? Because it's all joined, I really didn't need to do both sides. I just needed to do one. I'm going to press 3 for face selection and select the one, the poly that I just straightened. I select that one as the active one and then press Control L for what's linked to it, all the others, and this one's sort of highlighted. Right click and follow active quads. And it's straight so that I get this side here and I get this side here, and so that will look good when I do the wood. So we need to have that. So there's the wood for that part. And let's slash key to bring everything else back. I'm going to select the bottom and go in, select it all, so it's got the two sort of circles, and just U unwrap, and I'll get these circles. With those circles selected, and then shift select that, I'm going to go into edit mode, and I have this. I'm going to select it all, and I'm going to pack. And you can use Blender to pack. I'll do that, and that's fine. And if I use Packmaster 3 to pack, it just may do a slightly better job, but not really by much. So I'm going to leave it like that, and the wood is now done. And I'm going to put the metal together. So I will have two materials. Each material will use its own UV. So I'm going to have those in there, and I'm going to have the other stuff in there. So let's look at this. So this has a shading issue here, but I think it's going to be okay with the modifier, and I've got a mirror on there, right? I'm going to turn the mirror off for the moment, and actually slash key just to focus on this one. So I'm going to go ahead and unwrap this one. So the way I'm going to do that is I'm going to shift alt to click that, the inner edge, Control E, mark seam, and then I'm going to come to, let's say, maybe I'll do that one and that one, Control E, mark seam. If I look at that, unwrap, I get this, and that's actually going to be just fine. So I've done that one, and I'm going to bring that back, and I don't have to apply the mirror right now, but I think I'm going to anyhow. So I got both of those, and I'll just press U, unwrap, and I'll have both of them, and that's going to be fine for that. So I've got that piece and I've got that piece. I'll pack them in a minute. And then we have these. And the way I'm going to do this is I'm going to focus on just that piece there. And I need all of that. So let's see what we can do here. I think I'll do this from the side. I'm going to press 3. And 2 for edge selection. Shift Alt and click there and Control E, mark seam. And maybe we can get away with this inner one here, or the bottom one there. Control E, mark seam. If this works well, I get this straight thing, relatively straight. I could fix this. I'm not sure it's really going to matter. If that works well, I guess it's not that hard to do the others. All right. Let's just focus on those and come in, and 3 to look from the side. I'll do it all on the same side. I'm just going to mark seam on both of these, and let's see what those look like if I just unwrap like that. I get straight lines as well there, so that's not a problem there. I'm going to take these ones and I'm going to Control J and just come in, and I'm just going to U unwrap and have a look at that. Relatively straight. If I really wanted to, I can come in here, I can select that and straighten it, that and straighten it, that and straighten it, that and straighten it, then select that and Control L and follow active quads and straighten it, but I don't think I'm going to need to bother. And for these things, what I'm going to do is I'm going to Control J. I'm going to do those, and I'm just going to select them all, U unwrap, and I'm just going to get all these circles, and that's going to look fine. I'm actually going to join that so that that metal there is done. I'll just have to pack everything, and I'll do that in a moment. I'm actually going to do that right about now. I'm going to select, I have half a mind to join it all right now. I think I'm going to. Okay, I'm going to come in. Everything is unwrapped. I'm going to select it all. Make sure on this side you've selected everything. And I'm going to pack the metal. So I'm going to press N and use UV Pack Master, but you could just use Blender Pack. And that'll do that. And that is probably going to be just fine for the metal. So I've got the metal on one UV, and I've got the wood on another UV. And we are basically done as long as we're happy with it. I could, on this metal, I could put a weighted normal, and normal's auto smooth, and that'll clear up the shading issues. And I'll do that, and I'll save it. And then all that's really left is to just save this as an FBX, export it as an FBX. And then we will come back to this later, because in the next video, we're going to create the wood texture that I showed you before. We're going to create this wood texture. And then we're going to bring that into Substance Painter, where we apply that wood texture. I'll have a few parameters exposed so that we can change a few features on this, and then we'll do the metal as well. And we'll hope to get a blend. Sometimes when you do a texture in Substance Designer, and then you do a texture in Substance Painter, they don't quite match that well, but hopefully this is going to be okay. All right, and this is not necessarily like a hero asset or anything. This will probably sit in the pirate ship that I plan to model for the next Blender Challenge, which we'll talk about soon. All right, so that's going to be it for the time being. If you were modeling along with me, I hope I went at an okay pace and I didn't leave anybody behind. Hopefully you got yourself a nice medieval bucket, and we'll see you in the next video.